We have our live audience joined us. So now it's time to switch gears a little bit and get started. So, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us today at this Future Friday event. And we have yet another very exciting session ahead of us with a very, very talented and impressive both entrepreneur and a startup that we'll be doing a deep dive into. So let's get started. We'll start with some introductions real quickly. I'm Donna. I'm the director of product at DX Future. DX Future is essentially an innovation platform. We connect between startups, corporates, between solution seekers and innovation seekers, and we connect them with innovation providers from all over the world. And the Future Friday initiative is essentially a platform in which we spotlight very interesting startups, specifically in the Industry 4.0 industry. So I get to speak with very interesting, very technical, very enterprise-oriented startups and entrepreneurs on a weekly basis from all over the world. And today we have Hardik Gandhi, who is the founder of Zvolv. And a little bit about, just before I let you introduce yourself, Hardik, I want to say what an impressive technical background you bring, and what an impressive startup you built. So with years of experience at Apple and Texas Instrument, you essentially built a no-code intelligent automation platform. And I think, we'll do a real deep dive into what that really means. But the way that I understand it and, the way I've experienced it so far from talking to you and learning more about Zvolv is essentially you're taking the old legacy ERP softwares like Oracle and SAP, and you take very complex business processes and you make it accessible and available to the companies that are in need of this information, and also to their end users and to their customers in a very interesting and easy to implement way. And I think now we want to hear it a little bit from you on how you do it. So I think, before we're getting started, I'll ask you a real quick question. Or you know what, before that, how about you tell us a little bit about what Zvolv is and why Zvolv essentially, why, and it's an open-ended question. Why should customers choose it? Why did you start it? The first thing that comes to mind.
Great, thanks, Donna. Glad to be here. Just a quick background. I'm the founder CEO of Zvolv. I've been doing this for almost 5 years now, and based out of India, but spent a couple of decades in the US working with some of the large corporations that you mentioned. And a common theme across everywhere I've worked and where my other co-founders have worked. We use state-of-the-art technology when it comes to managing our daily lives. Whether it's all the intelligent search that's happening around products that we use, Google, Snapchat, Facebook, all the consumer products that we use. There's a lot of intelligence behind the scenes, and there's very sleek UI UX that we experience everywhere. But the moment we enter into a enterprise work domain, we are pushed back a decade or more in terms of the tools and the technologies that we use, right? And that's because it takes a long time for enterprises to evolve their tech stack, right? For internal operational processes, for managing their data and managing the collaboration between their employees. And our primary reason that we found was because of the long time it takes to develop these kind of tools, the complexity of these tools, and the cost of developing and maintaining these tools. And at some point in our career, we felt the need for an IT certified platform that we could as pseudo technical people, managers, we could build applications ourselves, right? Be like citizen developers that can create our own applications, to manage our own processes, our teams, and it's not something that's currently available or wasn't currently available when we started. And that was the genesis of why we created Zvolv. Give enterprises a IT certified platform to rapidly build internal applications that improve productivity, efficiency, help with growth, and do this without needing a lot of developer support, without having to spend months and months of investment working with third-party system integrators or experienced developers. Be able to do a lot of things yourself, right? It's the age of DIY, right? So why not DIY inside an enterprise, right? Um, and a lot of these enterprises are very wary of data security, data privacy, uh, you know, even internal to organizations, sharing data across teams has to be very controlled. And hence, as a reason, a lot of these off-the-shelf SaaS tools often are not encouraged by internal IT teams. It's very hard to manage and hard to make the data unified, especially if you have many disparate tools being used, right? So if you have a internal platform that is used across your teams, that's IT certified, that is under your control in terms of data security, privacy, that solves a lot of the problems with why enterprises are a decade behind consumer solutions, right, when it comes to technology. And that's what we started to solve, and that's where the name Zvolv originates as well. Enterprises evolve, it's a spin on the words.
Oh, I was speaking to a muted mic. So I said, I see. That's a very interesting observation. And I think, really what I'm hearing from you is two major things. One is reducing barriers. As we know, there's a lot of them in the enterprise environment. And the other one is kind of like catching up with, the B2C type of technologies that we've come to appreciate and enjoy, or the parts of them that are
Right.
very, very user friendly. I think I want to hear from you why you started Zvolv, and maybe through that tell us also a little bit about yourself and your background and what makes it so unique.
Right. So why we started Zvolv, right? I mean, a lot of it goes to my personal experience at the last large enterprise that I worked with. Uh, the average employee tenure at that enterprise was 2 years, and the smartest grads from Stanford were hired and essentially burnt out in 2 years, and then found another job in the valley. And one of the main reasons was there's a lot of internal uh, chaos kind of by design, but a lot of that could have been mitigated by better tools, better collaborative technologies, fewer meetings, fewer meetings where there were like 100 plus people in an auditorium listening to a project manager speak, uh, right? And as enterprises evolve, and now with work from home and a more distributed culture, that kind of a work environment is hard to imagine anymore, right? And everything has to be more self-help, more autonomously driven, rather than project management driven. And back then when we started off, our motivation was how do we make especially with millennials being a big part of growing enterprise teams, how do we make millennials feel excited about using the tools that are offered at work, right? Similar to tools that they are using outside of work, right? And if they were able to quickly tweak processes as per their current needs, without having to go stand in line in an IT driven organization. I think that's kind of the vision that we had, right? That people like you and me who don't necessarily know how to code applications could still go ahead and create what we need to run our daily work life, right? And it can be customized to my needs and customized to my team's needs. So that was the intent, and cognizant of if this were to be an enterprise scale solution, it had to conform to a certain level of enterprise needs in terms of a different way of licensing, a different way of hosting the applications and managing the data, and making sure things are in control of the IT team. If they need to put things behind a firewall, they have to give VPN access to selective people. Uh, you know, very finely controlled access outside the organization, all such things, right? I mean, the data retention, the geographical, boundaries within which data needs to reside. All of these things needed to be, front and center as you're building the platform, to enable it to be a large organization IT certified tool, right? And that's what we went at and built with Zvolv.
So I think, now is a good time to segue into really what's the problem. You talked a lot about the barriers, and how you guys are really smoothly addressing them. But what is the problem? And I'm sure, and if you want to touch on a few, there's probably like a plethora of problems that you guys are solving from what I've seen with Zvolv. So what are some of the very interesting problems that you were addressing? Or before we start talking about the solution, really, what the problems are.
Right. So I can categorize the problems into 4 types of problems, right? One is your business process management kind of problems, right? Where you have a lot of processes in finance, HR, legal, IT, customer support, which are, simple processes, yet to date may not have been automated for a variety of reasons, right? End up being mostly email driven processes, phone call or paper driven processes, and very little tracking is currently happening, and there's a lot of optimization to be gained if you automate these processes, right? Second type of processes are where you have implemented state of the art ERP systems, CRM systems, yet there are holes that are left behind, and there's a lot of manual operations going on, a lot of Excel files getting exchanged around the organization, a lot of data getting pulled from various systems and combined and merged, and reports being generated. All of those gaps can be plugged with automation that is available now. Third type of processes could be where you want to leverage that you have in the organization to make smarter decisions, right? Most organizations don't realize how much data there is distributed around the organization that could help with planning, that could help with future uh, you know optimization of resources, optimization of manpower. There's a lot of benefits to be gained from looking at your past data, right? And the fourth one is there's a lot of distributed teams working together now for a lot of key enterprise processes, whether you're developing new products, whether you're launching new retail outlets, whether you're part of a very distributed supply chain. you know uh, there's a lot of coordination between teams and a lot of handover and process orchestration that's happening, right? And those are the fourth kind of processes that can be automated, right? So this is kind of a broad picture of what a CIO in a large organization is looking at today, right? In 2021, 22, right? These are the kind of challenges that they want to address to be better prepared for the next pandemic like situation that arises, right? You want to plug in all the gaps that exist in the organization and use automation wherever possible.
What are some of the major barriers that you had to overcome, if it's technically or, on the business front, in order to make this, really work the way that you've wanted, if there are any?
Well, there were, right? I mean, when we first launched the platform in 2018, there wasn't a lot of familiarity with the concept of no code, low code back then, right? With COVID, one good thing that has happened in this space is a lot of companies have started realizing the need for what we call immediate solutions, right? You cannot wait months for a problem to be solved, right? You need a solution in days or weeks. And that's only possible when you start building on top of existing no code, low code platforms, right? So, the one big change that we have seen in the last, year or so is, people are now actively searching out for such platforms, actively onboarding such platforms in the organization. So we don't have to evangelize or teach our CIOs the value of no code, low code. Uh, you know, they've heard about it before we tell them about it, and it's made our life a bit easier. But yeah, that challenge has been there. We always still have to face justifying the investment into such a platform, and you already have internal IT resources that are available, right? And why would I want to build something on a no code platform when I can just control my code and not have to pay a platform license fee year on year? And that kind of a build versus buy decision is always still prevalent. But now the tide is turning, and there's a lot more organizations that are buying into the promise of low code, no code.
So tell us a little bit about the solution itself. How are you solving these problems? And
Right. So the one thing that we did differently with Zvolv was, and again, this comes from our experiences in large enterprises, is we we didn't want to leave any gaps open in terms of automating a process end to end, right? Because what we have found is, the moment there's any backdoor left, moment there's any work that's happening outside the context of a tool, pretty soon almost everything gets pulled out of the tool, right? And start no one uses the tool to the level that it's supposed to be used, right? And you only get the true benefit of such an automated system if there's 100% enforcement of all the data entry, of all the status updates, of all the approvals, everything happening through the tool, right? And so we decided that to do that, Zvolv needed to provide a combination of different technologies. So Zvolv as a platform has a base layer of business process management. So managing all of your tasks, documents, all the different activities, data collection, all the project planning, all of that is the basic BPM layer. Uh, on top of it, it adds the layer of RPA, or process automation, through intelligent bots, which allows you to, over time, replace activities that humans were doing with automated bots, software bots that can do the same activity which with much higher precision, with much lower time, and maybe with a much broader context by looking at much more data than humans can possibly analyze, and augment both these layers with the ability to add AI ML where required, right? So organizations can selectively choose where they want to leverage the power of AI ML in their processes, right? So Zvolv as a platform provides all these layers under one umbrella, and that allows you to automate a process end to end, right? Not 80%, not 90%. You want to ensure 100% compliance, and you want to ensure it's fully integrated. There are no manual interventions required in any step, as far as possible. And with our approach of providing a set of building blocks to build your applications, you can build small and expand over time, right? So you don't have to enforce a 100% completeness of your application before it gets launched, right? You can build simpler layers first, get the adoption going, and keep on augmenting it over time, and be rest assured that as a platform, Zvolv has all the future capability, right? Because when you are making a choice today, you shouldn't be making a choice based on what you had built in the last 10 years, but what you're going to build in the next 10 years, right? And Zvolv has that forward-looking set of features integrated in the platform.
yeah, I think that from my experience, if there's one thing that converts clients of all sizes of companies really, is the ability to scale gradually and know that it will scale with you, but also be able to really, touch and feel it and use whatever platform, whatever system it is, whatever service it's providing, start using it right away on a small scale and start growing from there. Might be the number one barrier remover in the process.
Right.
I wanted to ask you, so it really is an ecosystem, right? I mean, Zvolv is an ecosystem on its own, but I think it lives together with, and I wanted to ask you, is it like ERP systems that it coexists with, or can it live independently completely?
Right.
What is your insight on that?
So as a intelligent process automation platform, Zvolv is akin to an octopus in your organization, right? It has its tentacles in every data system that you may have already deployed, right? Because you need to push and pull data from different tools to manage different processes, right? So most of the times, Zvolv has interfaces with ERP systems like SAP, Oracle, Microsoft as primary requirements when you launch a platform. Over time, you may want to integrate with all sorts of other SaaS tools that you may be using. Maybe you're already using, let's say, DocuSign for your physical signatures. Maybe you're using Twilio for your messaging, whatever other SMS, whatever other SaaS platforms you may be using. And then the third layer is today every organization has some communication platform or messaging platform that they use, whether it's a Teams, Slack, whatever it may be. You want your solutions to be integrated with all these three types of tools, right? And Zvolv, has the ability to, create your own, custom portals, create your own custom mobile apps. So if you need something that is, very specific to a particular application and you want to launch it to a specific group of people, you can create white label mobile apps out of Zvolv and share it with people outside the organizations as well.
So it's not here to replace the ERP systems, but it's here to make the experience significantly better.
Absolutely, and there's a reason why Zvolv complements ERP systems very well. One is ERP systems are very massive in terms of the kind of data they carry and the kind of criticality they have in the organization, and you don't want to mess with it, right? So if you have a process that is dynamic and that's changing, you don't want to build that process in your ERP system. You want to leave that flexibility outside the ERP, and that's a reason why a lot of enterprise processes happen outside the context of ERP system. Maybe they are too complex, too dynamic, and it takes a lot of time and effort to plug them into your ERP. And maybe you don't have enough licenses. It's not worth getting thousands of licenses for an ERP system for something that your other stakeholders may be using very sporadically. Maybe sometimes you want to expose certain information outside your organization, maybe vendor portals, customer portals, where vendors may want to see specific information or update specific information into your core systems, but you don't want to give them direct access to your core system. So Zvolv acts like a layer in between your ERP and all the other interactivity that happens, so that layer is your flexibility layer, right? Where that layer can allow your processes to change and be dynamic over time, whereas your core ERP stays rock solid. Right? And then whatever access controls and visibility controls you want to put in, you enforce them on the Zvolv layer.
So from our working experience already, I know that Zvolv operates in a very value-rich environment. You're adding a lot of value. You're increasing productivity. You're basically doing data augmentation. So you're making the data accessible, usable, full of insight. And we talked about how user-friendly the whole experience is, and how it's designed to be that way. I'm wondering if there's any data points that you want to share with us, on value that you've seen Zvolv adds to your companies and the customers that are using it.
Right. As a company, we believe in the concept of assisted DIY, right? We want to bring the speed of no code, low code. We want to give you the flexibility of intelligent automation. Uh, but we don't want you to struggle having to learn about what Zvolv is, how to program in Zvolv. You don't need any certifications to work with Zvolv. You don't need any IT skills. But as with any no code, low code platform, it takes a time for you to get familiar, and building a quick POC is you can build in a matter of days in any system, but building a production worthy system on the first go is a complex endeavor, no matter what platform you're building it on, right? And uh, doing the right things in terms of architecture, in terms of looking at all the data sources, in terms of figuring out how this application is going to interact with other applications that you may build in the future on Zvolv, right? Thinking about the broader picture. So Zvolv as a company, brings value by providing an end-to-end solution. We help you map out the landscape of the different types of applications you're going to build on Zvolv. We assist you in architecting those the right way, and we end up providing value through solutions that are built very rapidly on Zvolv, right? And that can be enriched with AI ML where required. That can be integrated end to end in your organization, right? So as a company that is building on no code low code platforms, maybe for the first time, Zvolv becomes a partner in your journey, right? It's not just a platform that you get a partner that guides you along the way and helps you build the first few applications, and then once you're trained, you take it on by yourself, right? And that's kind of the core value proposition of Zvolv. It's not just a single application or just a platform. It's our help in bringing out the value through the solutions that you have in mind.
What would you say is the number one thing, like the biggest converter in this entire operation? Is it the user experience? Is it the ease of adoption? Is it the accessibility of the data? What would you say that is?
I think the more we see people using Zvolv, I feel the biggest value that we bring to the table is the speed, right? And I'll just give you a couple of examples, right? Last week, one of our public sector clients launched an entire vaccination drive for their employees and their family members, almost 50,000 people on Zvolv. And they were able to put the solution together in a matter of couple of days, right? And we were surprised at how quickly the solution got put together and how efficiently the solution was used. I think in the last week they did some 7,000 vaccinations, and uh, you know uh, a similar example the week before, another client of ours got an audit solution done for over 10,000 of their employees, again in a few days. And the speed and the immediacy that is required for solving business problems nowadays is what customers find the most appealing with Evolve, right? You are able to build solutions that can go live very fast, and that can be pretty complex, if you so desire, but at the same time, the user interfaces are as simple as we could have designed them, right? Keeping in mind that it's not just project managers or departmental heads who are going to use Zvolv. It's going to be every employee down the value chain as well.
Yeah, I have to say, we probably won't be able to really showcase it into to the best of our ability, but from what I've experienced, Evolve is such a horizontal solution, and it can really solve problems in various different industries, various types of problems. Um, it almost feels like an enterprise type of Wix, like build your own, and no single solution looks like another one that is built on Zvolv. So you really get to probably work with different industries, ones you may have never even, worked with in the past. Is that correct?
That brings a very funny incident to my mind. We keep talking about building blocks in Zvolv, right? And kids at home keep listening to me, talking about building blocks all day. And my 5-year-old the other day came to me with something he built with Lego bricks and said, "Is this what you sell at work?" And I said, "No, that's, you know, not really, but essentially it's what we do. We bring you a bag of Lego bricks, right, of different shapes and colors and sizes, right? Whether it's TAS, dashboards, databases, intelligent bots, all sorts of different Lego bricks. You patch them together to build whatever application you have in mind today, right? You build the applications as large or as small as you want. You only get charged for the number of Lego bricks that you use to build your applications, and our pricing model is based on the number of bricks that you use, not based on number of users or how often you use the applications. And tomorrow, if your applications evolve, you remove a few bricks, you add a few other bricks, your applications can evolve very quickly, right? And always stay in sync with your business processes, right? So another thing that you'll notice in many organizations is there are so many dead applications around, right? Applications that have become obsolete because processes have changed, right? And with Zvolv, we are very conscious of that, right? So if you haven't used an application for a few months, you automatically get notified. You may deprovision those building blocks and build something new with it, right? So that's the kind of flexibility that we bring to the table, right? And as you rightly said, no two applications that are built on Zvolv are exactly the same. One of our most popular applications has been in the retail space, right? Launching new retail outlets, and over the last few years, over 1,000 outlets have been launched using Zvolv uh, applications, and no two customers have the same process that they follow, right? So every application is unique, and that's kind of the core value proposition that we bring to the table, right? The flexibility to make it your own.
So we're almost running out of time. I wanted to ask you a few more questions before we go our separate ways for today. Where do you see Zvolv in 5 years? Or in other words, what is the long-term vision for Zvolv?
We see ourselves, the fourth cog in the enterprise, tool landscape. The first cog being the ERP systems, second being the CRM systems, third being all the transactional systems, and we want to be the main automation platform that enterprises use for process automation, right? And if we are able to keep on evolving and provide as many building blocks as required and stay true to our core value proposition of speed, flexibility, and a cost that helps you justify the ROI for every application that you want to build. I think then we intend to be that dominant player in that space where every mid-sized or large enterprise has invested in Zvolv for enterprise automation.
So last question that kind of comes to mind, on the topic of, on the more technical, hands-on, how does it work? If you want to talk a little bit about the integrations, right? Like the other platforms that you integrate with and how soon, how fast that all can happen.
So we are working on a lot of product partnerships, right? Because Zvolv is never deployed as a standalone solution, right? It's always integrated with other solutions that you already have in your organization, right? And these integrated solutions can be of all flavors because no two enterprises have the same technical stacks, and Zvolv has uh, off-the-shelf, readily usable widgets that you can deploy to integrate with all the ERP, CRM systems you have, your SaaS tools, and we have a lot of predefined demonstrative platforms, POCs that we have created which show how integrations can be leveraged, to do things that you may have not, probably thought of, earlier, right? So, how data from different sources can be merged to give you insights that, may not have been, necessarily available before, or, how process orchestration can be done across different systems autonomously to avoid any, falling through the cracks because of, humans missing out on taking certain actions, right? So there's a lot of integration capability, whether it's APIs, web services, file-based interfaces. Zvolv has support for all of those.
It's very powerful to hear that, and very insightful, to see really how you approach the entire industry, because it is a monster of an industry, or some would say just a legacy, right? And how do you inject innovation, true innovation, into that landscape is very inspiring. So on that note, I wanted to ask you, what inspires you, right? I really want to hear a little bit about you, the person behind Zvolv, behind this innovation. What or who inspires you? What was significant to your journey?
Well, what inspires me is, being challenged every day, right? And you know, I really feel, I've grown 10 years younger the day I started working on this product at Zvolv. It's because, you end up working with so many, bright people around you who, keep you on your toes. And when it's something that, everyone has bought into the vision, and everyone is, really excited about, what we are doing and how we are going to change something in the world. And you know we've seen in the last year that, the way people have been using Zvolv, right? I quote a few examples which really make us proud, right? Through the COVID downturns, Zvolv has ensured one of the largest food service company in this part of the world has stayed operational and fed millions, right? With all the operational, workflows, all the COVID compliance audits that we had ensured. Zvolv is helping one of the largest state governments here build, some 250 healthcare centers, hospitals and medical colleges. Again, tracked, project management through the Zvolv platform. There are, dozens of other such examples of Zvolv making a change in some way, down the value chain, right? I mean, and that makes us happy that, what we are doing is truly impacting lives at some level. Right? And it's
Yeah,
across the board, right? I mean, it's not in just one industry segment or one specific application, right? People are using Zvolv in many different ways, right? Just like the example of people using Zvolv to vaccinate their employees, and that's something we would have never thought of when we built Zvolv, but it's being used that way.
yeah. It is, to hear. It's also very inspiring. It really kind of raises my curiosity to understand more. What you do, how you do it, and all those magical intersections that happen when things come together. The customer, the software, and what it all can do, is very fascinating. I think I don't have any questions anymore.
Thank you.
How about you? Is there anything else that we didn't touch on that you think that is important to our conversation today?
No, I think it was a fun conversation. I love talking about what we do, and I think thank you for the opportunity, and I think for everyone listening here, come talk to us about what Zvolv does, and you'll find what we do very compelling, and hopefully we'll work together on something exciting, and something that I can mention on the next webinar as a a lot of change that we have ensured in the world because of something we do.
And we'll get to see you guys grow and evolve.
Thank you, Donna.
Yeah. I look
Thank you.
forward to
Appreciate the opportunity.
talking again. Thank you so much,
Sure,
Hardik.
absolutely. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.